Welcome to NTN Nightly. I am Janelle Norville. This edition's top stories. Preparations for the reopening of school are underway. St. Lucia receives its third batch of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine through the COVAX Facility. And the Minister for Agriculture tours Region 7. Preparations are underway for the official reopening of schools on the 13th of September 2021 using the distributed learning approach. Teachers have been granted an additional week of preparation ending September 10. Acting Chief Education Officer in the Ministry of Education, Sustainable Development, Innovation, Science, Technology and Vocational Training, Cyrus Sipal, is expounding on the purpose for the additional preparation week before the commencement of the new academic year.
Reason for another week for the planning week for teachers, because we realize since it is not just simply virtual learning, but it is distributed learning. So there is a lot of work that needs to be done. The teachers have to prepare some packages for children who may not have access to the online learning. And also, together with that, they have to prepare now the platforms which they're going to use to reach the children. So the distributed learning approach, it is one where, yes, we are using it, and yes, it is effective based on what we have available to us, but then it takes a lot of preparation from the teachers.
Cyrus Sipal is urging the public to follow the protocols to help expedite the students' return to the classroom.
I'm appealing to everybody, please, follow the protocol. Wear your mask, maintain the social distancing, stay home if you don't have anything to go and do. Stay home, protect yourself, protect the children. Because, as I said, when we the adults, we follow the protocol and we can reduce the number of cases, then the children can go back to school and then they will get their full education.
Sipal says this is important because while the distributed learning approach is useful during this pandemic, it is proven that face-to-face interaction is the more effective approach to education and provides greater benefits to students. Meantime, the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs continues to note significant increases in confirmed COVID-19 cases. The Delta variant has been proven to be more contagious and severe than previous strains, and its presence in country means that COVID-19 cases as well as deaths will continue to soar. This, combined with a low vaccination uptake of approximately 15% of the total population, means that the population remains at a very high risk. Dr. Michelle Fassois is the acting national epidemiologist.
As we continue with community transmission, we have noted that all sectors of our society are being affected in some form or another. While the need to maintain businesses operational is fully acknowledged, the Ministry of Health remains very concerned over the increasing number of breaches in national protocols. There is a growing tendency of business places to ignore the workplace guidelines and test workers at their discretion. This practice is to be discontinued, as testing contacts prematurely and instructing them to return to work may be creating an unsafe workplace whereby employees have a false sense of security originating from a false negative test result. The need for testing and quarantine is based on the level of exposure and clinical status of a contact. A decision is then made on whether contacts should be isolated, quarantined, or made to self-monitor. In the latter two, the period of monitoring for the development of signs and symptoms for COVID-19 is 14 days from the last day of contact with the infected individual. This is the maximum incubation period of the disease.
A negative test does not shorten the quarantine period. Dr. Fassois explained that earlier this year, St. Lucia adjusted the discharge from isolation criteria in accordance with guidelines from the World Health Organization, WHO. A negative PCR test result is no longer considered a requirement for discharge from isolation. In addition to a sick leave form, the Ministry of Health also issues a letter of discharge from quarantine and isolation to all persons who have been placed in either quarantine or isolation.
I reiterate, a negative PCR result is no longer considered a requirement for discharge from isolation, and employees should not be mandated to produce a negative PCR result in order to return to work, especially as a PCR test may remain positive for months after a person has recovered from COVID-19. This new request for PCR results is now creating a strain on staff at the testing sites and laboratory, as well as encouraging COVID-19 cases to leave their homes against protocols in order to get tested. The Ministry of Health reminds persons in the same household as a confirmed case of COVID-19 that they should not leave the home to go to school or work. Instead, they should get tested to determine their COVID-19 status. Once tested, the individual should remain at home until the result of their test is communicated to them and further guidance given by a healthcare worker. If you have not received a call informing you of your results, a call can be made to the testing site to inquire about your results.
Persons who have been placed in quarantine are asked to adhere to the quarantine measures as explained by the healthcare workers. The Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs asks the public to continue practicing the standard recommendations to prevent the spread of infection as it continues to work with the various sectors to manage the current COVID-19 situation on island. St. Lucia continues its fight against the COVID-19 pandemic as it receives its third batch of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine through the COVAX Facility. More in this report from Fernell Neptune.
The government of St. Lucia recently received 24,000 doses of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine through the COVAX Facility. This shipment of the AstraZeneca vaccine was made possible through the Pan American Health Organization (PAHO) and WHO. Minister for Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs, the Honorable Moses Jean-Baptiste, says the government remains committed to make vaccines readily available to the population.
The focus is to ensure equitable distribution of vaccine. While St. Lucia will receive its initial supply, the country will procure additional vaccines to ensure everyone who needs the vaccine receives it. St. Lucia has received 2 installments, totaling 50,400 doses. This third installment of 24,000 doses will provide vaccines to cover approximately 6% of the population as the ministry continues steadfast in its fight against this pandemic.
The minister also encouraged St. Lucians to visit the various vaccination sites and get vaccinated to protect themselves from the COVID-19 virus. National Immunization Manager Tekla Jean-Baptiste spoke on the effectiveness of vaccines in fighting the COVID-19 virus and says the goal for St. Lucia is to reach population immunity.
The availability of safe and effective vaccines is the opportunity for us to regain some measure of normalcy. Vaccines undoubtedly is the most cost-effective public health strategy to combat this pandemic and to decrease the burden of disease in our small country, St. Lucia. There is no doubt that the vaccines that we have received today from the COVAX facility will be a real support and assistance towards achieving our goal.
The COVAX facility is a global partnership between the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, CEPI, Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, UNICEF, the Pan American Health Organization, and the World Health Organization. Reporting from the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Elderly Affairs, I am Fernell Neptune.
Due to the global pandemic, the Ministry of Commerce, Manufacturing, Business Development, Cooperatives and Consumer Affairs has been faced with periodic delays with the importation of bulk supplies of refined and brown sugar. Minister for Commerce, Manufacturing, Business Development, Cooperatives and Consumer Affairs, Honorable Emma Hippolyte, indicated that suppliers have disclosed that there is a global freight situation.
The containers to ship the commodities have a longer turnover time, and in some cases, the shippers are overbooked. As a result, their ability to ship on a timely basis has been affected. Notwithstanding the delays, the Ministry wishes to assure all our stakeholders that there is no shortage of refined and brown sugar. We are simply managing our stock on hand to allow for the even distribution to our customers. To this end, we are seeking the assistance of all retailers to manage the sale of both refined and brown sugar to ensure that consumers do not engage in panic buying. The ministry is optimistic that the regular supply of these commodities will be available by month end.
The Ministry of Commerce, Manufacturing, Business Development, Cooperatives and Consumer Affairs is doing all in its power to ensure that the supplies are on island and thanks the public for its continued cooperation. The Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security and Rural Development continued a tour of the departments within the Ministry of Agriculture with a visit to Region 7. The minister during the tour noted that major challenges confronting the region includes the lack of training for extension officers. He assured that the ministry is channeling efforts towards alleviating said challenges. More in this report.
The minister's tour of the various divisions within the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Rural Development and Food Security proceeded with a visit to Region 7's head office, where he was briefed by the regional head and extension officers on the region's current developments. Region 7 serves farmers of communities on the west coast that include Ancillary, Canries, Marigot, Roseau, Millet, Boaden, Jacmel, Verner and Bel Air. According to Honorable Alfred Prosper, one of this agricultural region's major challenges is a lack of training for extension officers. He says the ministry will double up on efforts to provide training for extension officers in order to build capacity to better serve the region's farmers.
Because what is important is that our farmers need to be able to feel comfortable, just like our extension officers, to interact in a way that would benefit both parties. Moving forward, the ministry will make every effort to ensure that our farmers are always happy, our farmers get the knowledge and support that they require by our ministry. And I'm hoping that as time goes by, the relationship between our farmers and our extension staff will continue to grow and continue to ensure our farmers are very comfortable. As I always mention, it's an important sector. It's a very, very important ministry. And food security, especially amidst the COVID situation that we face, is very important. Nutrition security is also very important. And our farmers and other stakeholders in the ministry are responsible for making that happen. So it's important that that support is given to our farmers.
The familiarization tour continued with a visit to the Roseau Irrigation Facility, which houses a water reservoir. Minister Prosper notes that the irrigation system can be very beneficial to farmers of Region 7, particularly during the dry season.
I was really surprised that our farmers were not tapping into this resource. And I'm hoping that going forward, the ministry will find some way of engaging those farmers who are involved in the banana industry, the vegetable production and plantain production, who are in close proximity to this dam, to find ways to support the farmers in terms of irrigation water in the dry season.
Minister Prosper says he is looking forward to serving the Agriculture Ministry and hopes to gain the support of the staff to make the ministry one of the most efficient. From the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Agriculture, I am Anicia Antoine reporting.
This is NTN Nightly. Primus Hutchinson is up next. Stay with us.
my mommy took me to the dentist. Really? How was that? It wasn't bad. The dentist was really nice and she told me that mouth rinsing is very important for healthy teeth. How so? Rinsing with water gets rid of food in between your teeth, which can protect you from getting cavities. No, wait. So after I eat or drink anything, it's a good idea to rinse out my mouth with water. Yes! Make sure to spit out the water after rinsing because swallowing will only bring the germs into your body. Remember, water is an easy and cost-effective way to instantly boost your health and a healthy body to fight many diseases, including COVID-19.
Welcome back. We join Primus Hutchinson for the NTN Nouvelle à Creole.
Monsieur le Général, Monsieur Madame Département qui est responsabilité pour information au gouvernement cette-ci, c'est GIS, ensemble et puis Télévision Nationale pays NTN. Après cette nouvelle à Creole, c'est Primus Hutchinson. Ministre qui est responsabilité pour affaires commerce, affaires les consommateurs coopératifs, honorable Emma Hippolyte, j'abaille cette assurance là qui gouvernement qui a fait tout ça qui est possible pour faire diverses marchandises qui ont recevoir l'autre pays available à l'aide pour nation en service. Ministre Hippolyte fait promettre ça là en référence aux situations sick qui en retard pour ces semaines là qui j'ai passé et pour 2 ou 3 semaines à présent l'argent est en réduction en cycle les pratiques à acheter en boutique. Ministre là, ça c'est ministre des consommateurs, honorable Hippolyte, bail assurance là qui l'année cycle qui est available à backstore a fait en ces warehouse côté gouvernement captain marchandises.
Moi voulais bail tout Saint-Lucien assurance là nous ni assez sick en warehouse là. Moi voulais répéter ça, nous ni assez sick en warehouse là. Mais parce que nous l'année en raison pour nous commencer à manager manière nous vendre cycle là. Nous avons crié à tous ces gens qui vendent cycle ben nous. Tous ces wholesalers là, ces supermarkets là pour travailler avec nous pour manager manière yo vendre cycle là. Moi voulais ba ou en confidence là, nous ni assez cycle et que nous regarder qui manière nous ça joindre l'autre supply avant bout de mois.
Ministre des consommateurs déclaré que l'année a cessé à cette liste pour toute nation en service pour les présents.
Mais nous travaillons et puis c'est moun côté nous acheter, c'est différents pays à côté nous acheter cycle là pour nous joindre l'autre shipment avant finissement mars septembre. Moi voulais dire comme ça pas aller dans ces supermarkets là et acheter bagaille cycle que sous acheter combien livres l'autre monde pas joindre. Nous manager pour tout le monde joindre et puis moi voulais ba assurance là nous ni les autres suppliers là qui porter cycle avant mois fini. So moi voulais remercier pour patience ou moi voulais remercier pour comprendre situation nous dedans.
Ministre des Affaires santé et les plus grands citoyens en cette liste, honorable Moses Jean-Baptiste, annonce qui, en considération des degrés et vitesse que maladie de corona a s'immergé à cette liste, j'avais dit nécessaire pour implémenter des règles nouveaux. Selon le ministre de la Santé Jean-Baptiste, après discussion, et puis tous ces groupes et agences et ces grecs et individus qui sont responsables pour du déménagement, protection contre mauvais vermine sala, ils ont découvert que moun ka continuer combler en cabaret et ka engagé à diverses activités sociales toujours. Ministre Jean-Baptiste remarqué qui après plus consultation et puis c'est officier police docteur l'autre officier santé gouvernement décision faite pour essayer de régler et arrêter attitude ça là. Ministre santé a annoncé qui commencé depuis vendredi le 3e jour mois de septembre pour mardi le 14e jour mois de septembre 2021 la journée changement nouveau en ce protocole là.
Avec ces changements en protocole là, yo ka aller comme ça. Premièrement, rhum avec l'autre divers alcool, nous kay doubout van yo adidan bar, adidan kabawe avec adidan restaurant. Deuxièmement, rhum ça vend en supermarket, en gas station, ou bien moun qui ka vend rhum wholesale, qui ni en licence pour vendre rhum, mais moun pa kay ça boire ou bien service et alcool ça là en les place là côté yo gen c'est alcool ça là. 3. Moun pa kay ça aller à des restaurant pour acide pour manger, mais ces restaurants là ça vend manger en anglais nous ka crier grab and go. Alors ces restaurants là avec moun qui ka vend manger, ça fait manger avec vendre ces manger ça là, fait moun mener manger bay moun qui gagne ou bien payer moun pour mener manger, ben moun même ça vini un restaurant là, gagner manger avec aller et puis 4. En dit dans l'hôtel, moun ça fait différentes récréations en hôtel là, mais yo ni pour être en dit dans la cour hôtel là même. Activité comme water skiing, comme moun ka ski avec comme moun ka fait différentes activités à les plages là, en gloire bagay comme ça. Yo pas kay ça fait même si yo dit dans l'hôtel là, yo pas kay ça fait commencer samedi les 4h30 pour aller lundi, jusqu'à lundi les 4h10 bon matin. Ça veut dire les curfew a commencé, ou pas kay ça quitter l'hôtel là avec aller la mer faire ski et toutes ces activités ça là pour qui ka mener moun ensemble.
Ministre a dit qu'il est nécessaire pour penser action ça là côté ni ce protocole neuf là qui travaille ensemble et puis ça qui déjà en opération pour essayer de réduire à ce pèse maladie corona.
Faut excès. C'est action ça là ni pour point parce que nous kawè les moun qui ni Covid ka monté, nous kawè plus avec plus jeune moun ka trouvé Covid avec malheureusement et ka cassé chez nous kawè moun ka continuer perdre la vie avec les affaires COVID-19 ça là. Comme ça, moi, je tout le monde pour venir ensemble pour goumer bataille COVID ça là. Parce que c'est en la GIE. Tout le monde suive ces protocoles là. Servir masque, laver la main avec rester à distance. Pas accomplir trop. Parce que c'est ça qui a fait COVID là, si bien comme ça. Pas aller à des places que le monde a joué ensemble trop. Parce que c'est la vie nous-mêmes, nous n'est pour sauver. Nous remercions tout le monde qui a pris vaccin avec tout le monde qui a aidé pour voir commission ça dehors. Il sérieux avec nous voulons tout le monde prendre sérieux.
Ministre qui a responsabilité pour l'agriculture, la pêche, sécurité de manger et développement de l'éthique commune en pays ci, honorable Alfred Prosper, de continuer visitation pour divers départements agricoles à cette ci. Dernière visitation, c'était en région 7. Côté il trouvait diverses informations par chef officier extension et l'autre officier extension concernant ces développements qui a pris coup en région Sala récemment. Région 7 a tombé en Oued, Anslawe, Marigot, Roseau, Millet, Boaden, Jacmel, Vanna et Pelé. Selon le ministre Prosper, il y en a ça qui est plus important et nécessaire présentement, c'est plus étonnement pour les officiers extension. Il peut mettre que le ministère qui a doublé effort et pour tuer, mais étonnement un effort pour bâtir capacité d'officier ça là, ça servir aux gens plus effectivement. Ministre Prosper Kakweki, il est très important pour les cultivateurs, ça veut dire les farmers, en sentir confortable, même quand c'est officier extension. Par conséquent, le ministère a fait tout ce qui est possible pour assurer que les farmers aient la contentement et satisfaction et qu'ils recevoir un support et information qui est nécessaire par le ministère. Le ministre agricole l'a dit aussi. Il y a une relation qui existe entre les farmers et les officiers extension qui continue pour augmenter. Le ministre a ajouté qu'il a dans un temps qu'on à présent, côté moun en bas menace maladie corona, sécurité de manger très important et pour les officiers agricoles et l'autre qui responsable travaillent ensemble pour faire ça en réalité. La situation a continué à se faciliter l'irrigation qui est située en Oued Roseau qui a porté une réserve de l'eau. Le ministre a dit que la réserve ça là, c'est une qui est très important pour les cultivateurs en région 7. particularly durant saison carême là, et ajouter qui il a gardé une bonne relation avec les travailleurs ministère de l'agriculture, le ministère de l'agriculture, et ça a gardé aussi pour trouver tout travailleur côté yo travail avec ministère travailler ensemble pays pour faire agriculture cette ici donc on succès. C'est comme ça. Nous avons nouvelle monsieur madame, on va remercier autant pour regarder, on va avoir une invitation pour je n'ai plus moi encore c'est dire conserver la vie dans les présenter l'autre nouvelle en créole. À présent, on va vous présenter au channel.
Merci Apple Primus. That brings us to the end of NTN Nightly. Join us next time at 7 p.m. with a repeat at 7 a.m. You can also catch up with us anytime on the St. Lucia Government Facebook page or YouTube channel. I am Janelle Norville.